So anyway, we'd like to welcome our first speaker. You probably noticed we are already running a little bit late, but actually we have a very good excuse. She has just flown in from LA to be with us today. She's an incredibly experienced lady and has the most interesting CV of anybody I've ever heard of. So to start off the day, we'd like to welcome Marisa Peer.
Thank you. I learned the most interesting stuff from my clients. I mean, I had a great teacher myself, but my clients taught me everything. And what I'm going to teach you today is what I've learned from them. And the thing I learned more than anything else ever was that they never feel enough. When I was working in LA, I was on this show full of major celebrities, and I had to go and visit all of them at their house and work with them. And I'd just flown in, and I was going out to see this really famous guy. I won't tell you who it is, obviously. And my producer rang up and said, "What kind of car have you got?" They said, "But you can't park that on his drive, because unless you've got a Porsche or a Ferrari or a Jaguar, you can't put it on his drive. And unfortunately, you can't actually even put it on the street outside his house." So I got up there, put my car, my very nice Mustang, which is a great car, around the corner, walked in the drive, went in, and started to talk to this guy who was quite fat, done really well in his career, and began to tell me his story about why he was so unhappy. He went, "Well, I've had, 5 wives. They've all been such a disappointment to me. Like, every single one of them let me down. And I've just moved into this house, but I hate it. I'm going to move again." And on and on. And as I looked at him, and he went, "And I've had so many shrinks. No one's ever been able to help me. I don't know what you think you can do." And I went, "Oh, I know what's wrong with you." And really, I went, "Yeah, I know exactly what's wrong with you." He said, "What?" And I said, "You don't think you're enough, do you?" And he was quite defensive and aggressive, so I was really shocked when these big tears started to leak out of his eyes. He said, "Do you think that's it?" I went, "Yeah, I think that's it." I said, "Look, 5 wives? Have your 5 wives had 5 husbands who all disappointed them? Do your friends move every year?" And he'd got all this movie success, which meant nothing. And I went, "No, that's it. When you don't feel enough, you can't get enough." And I learned that from all the bulimics and anorexics who just eat and eat and eat because they feel so empty here. But of course, when you feel emotionally empty, 10 Mars bars isn't going to fill that up. Anyway, I said, "Right, I want you to write this on your mirror. I want you to put it on your screen. So I want you to wake up every day and go, 'I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough.' First thing in the morning, last thing at night, write it on your hand. I don't care, but you have got to say that every day." So he kind of poo-pooed it. That was fine. Anyway, I worked on this show. I saw him quite a lot. I came back to England. A few months later, I was back in LA, and I was walking to my gym. And as I got close, I saw this guy about as far away as that window. And he started to undo his trousers and undo his zip and undo his shirt. And I'm like, "He's not going to flash me in the middle of LA, really?" And then it was him, and he went, "Look at me." He said, "I've lost 3 stone. And he said, "And I've got rid of my Porsche. I've got a Mini now." He said, "Now I'm not a fat bastard. I don't need that." He said, and all I do every day is say, 'I'm enough.' It's changed my life." And I said, "Yeah, it does that. It changes everybody. It's changed my life. It changes everyone's life saying 'I'm enough.'" So I learned my best lesson from him, and I'm still in touch with him, and he still emails me occasionally, and he's now slim, and he's married, he's got 2 children. Still got a Mini. He doesn't make people park the car around the corner anymore. Studies have shown, how important praise is. But no studies have shown you that self-praise is actually more important than being praised by someone else. And getting praise and letting it in has a really powerful effect on you. But you've got to praise yourself every day. So here's the thing. If any of you have a boss or a husband or a partner that doesn't give you praise, you need to tell yourself, what is it you want to hear? Which is almost the same thing. You're great, you're fantastic, you're indispensable, brilliant work, you've done really well. If the people you work for don't tell you that, but you tell yourself, that will actually have more of an effect on you than them telling you. Because if your boss comes up and goes, "Wow, what a fantastic bit of work you did. You're so important to this team. By the way, can you do some overtime at the weekend?" It's like if someone in the shop going, "Oh my God, you look awesome in that. You look fantastic. And you've got to have the bag and the shoes to match. And why don't you have it in 3 colors?" Because they have an agenda. Some people praise you on the whole. They sometimes have an agenda. When you praise yourself, there's no agenda. So whatever you want to hear from other people in your life, tell yourself, and tell yourself a lot. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing. But praise is very, very important, which leads me on to my 3rd thing, which is criticism. I've worked with people for, 25 years. And they have this disconnect where they let in criticism and reject praise, particularly women. So if you say to a woman, oh, you look fantastic at that, they go, oh, I've had it for 6 years. Oh, you look lovely, or I haven't even washed my hair today, or wow, I did a great speech. Yeah, but I forgot the most important bit. So that it's an interesting thing that they reject praise, and they kind of actually almost criticize themselves. And when I was in the States last week, I was looking on Amazon.com at one of my books, just because I've just started this thing of like responding to people that review it and going, well, thank you very much. And on Amazon.com, they have a different thing. If you buy a book and you like it, you can highlight bits you like and put it up. And I didn't know that, so I was looking at my book and seeing what people had highlighted, and they'd highlighted this story that I'm going to tell you, which is one of my favourite stories. So criticism. I'll come back to the story in just 2 minutes. Criticism withers people, and praise builds them up. And the third thing you must do to really feel great about yourself all the time and to radiate confidence, that real inner confidence, is to learn not to let in destructive criticism. I am a top psychologist. I understand how the brain works, and people think the brain is really complicated. It's not. It's actually quite simple. You only need to know 3 things about your brain to always get what you want. And the first thing is your brain does exactly what it thinks you want it to do, because it listens to everything you say. So when you say things like, oh God, I got dumped, it was so painful, I never want to go through that again, all your mind can pick up is you don't want to be in a relationship again. When people have a miscarriage and go, I could never go through that again, I'd rather die than go through that again, your mind is picking up, oh right, well that's a statement, that's actually a command to me to make sure you never go through a miscarriage again, and that's how you get unexplained infertility, which is something else I've been working on a lot recently. Because the mind listens to what you say. So people go, oh, I went on this flight, I thought I was going to die. And do it, they go, I'm never getting on a plane. If this plane lands, I will never, ever get on a plane again. And of course it lands, they go, oh, it was just turbulence. But next time they go to the airport, they have a massive panic attack because your mind's like, hang on a minute, you said I never want to fly again. And so if you haven't got what you want, it's because you're giving your mind very confusing messages. Your mind's number 1 job is to listen to what you say and to act on it. Its second job is to move you towards pleasure and away from pain. And it will always, always, always do more to avoid pain. So let's imagine you've gone for an interview, you've done a public speech thing like me, and you've stood up, and you've gone, and you think, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. And you'd have a terrible presentation. And one of my clients who worked for Sony was saying that she had to stand up and just say to Sony, this is a new band from Camden. And she stood up and went, this is a new band from, and they're called, she said, I couldn't do it. It was the simplest thing. And my boss had to take over. And I was explaining to her that when you do that and go, oh my God, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this again. Your mind is now going to make sure you don't do it again. So the next time you go to speak, it will give you a panic attack. It will make you ill. And if you say to yourself, oh my God, I'd love a week off in bed, or I'm dreading next Wednesday, your mind is so in tune with you. Your week off in bed, you wake up with a flu, and your mind's like, there you go. How cool am I? There's your week in bed. You don't want to go to that speech? I've woken you up with diarrhea, so now you can't go. That's what the mind does. When I was giving my first ever presentation about my first ever book, I woke up with the most excruciating migraine I've ever had one before. I thought, wow, I must have been saying to myself somewhere, I don't want to do this because I've got this migraine. And I actually went and did it, and I didn't have the migraine until I stepped back off the stage again. And I realized that I was communicating very badly with myself. So you must never say nervous, say excited, because your mind listens. So those 3 things are, your mind does what it really thinks you want to do. If you're very, very specific and say, I want this and this, I want to be a great speaker, I want to deliver things, I want to be fantastic at sales, I want to be able to look people in the eye and sell them things and come across as really authentic, your mind will understand. And if you make those pictures really good and pleasant, you'll move towards them. So your mind wants to move you towards pleasure, away from pain. And the way you think about anything is only down to 2 things, the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. And this pain-pleasure thing, I also learned from all the anorexics and bulimics in West Hollywood, because if I said to them, what do you love? They go, food. I particularly love cakes and biscuits and crisps and chocolates and sandwiches. And what do you hate? Food. I hate eating it. I like to walk down the aisles of Ralph's and look at it all, and that's what anorexics do. They spend all day looking at food, walking out, reading cookery books, but they don't eat. And bulimics spend all day shopping food, and they literally buy a trolley full of food like that. And they'll eat some beetroot first, and they'll eat all the food, and then they throw it up until the beetroot comes up, because that's always their marker. So they love and hate the same thing. They love food, they hate food. So if you go, oh God, I hate my job, it's killing me, or, you know, I'm dying under the pressure here of this workload, your mind is going to respond to pictures that are very, very symbolic. And if you say, I'm dying, I mean, this is killing me, this stress is overwhelming, your mind's going to pick up pain to that, and its job is to move you away from pain. That's how you survive on the planet. You might have heard some of this before, but I wrote about this in my book too. People who are naturally successful do 4 things completely naturally. They don't even know they're doing it. And the first thing they do is they do what they absolutely hate to get to where they want to be. They will do the jobs they hate. Many years ago, I was working with a drummer, and he just got a job in McDonald's to earn enough money so he could support his wife and family, but also buy his guitar and his drums. And he'd just literally taken this job. He was doing a taxi job and was about to work at McDonald's when he got the call, because he'd been for an interview, didn't know who it was, and they said, oh, you've got the job, you're now the drummer. And when he told me all this story, they went, I would never work in McDonald's. Oh my God, I would never do that. I said, yeah, but you missed the point. He was prepared to do what he hated to get to where he wanted to be. He needed a shift job. He could still go for all these auditions at Melody Maker. And he was prepared to do what he hated to do because his goal was to be a drummer in a famous rock band. The other thing very successful people do is that they just don't take no for an answer. They get rejected. Everyone gets rejected, but they come back. They do not take no for an answer. And you know, I remember working with Luther Vandross on one of my shows, and fortunately he's died now. And he said, you know, people call me an overnight success. Richard Gere said exactly the same thing. Did you know that overnight success? He said it took me 12 years singing jingles for Kentucky Fried Chicken before I got a record deal. There is no overnight success. They get rejected, but they come back over and over and over again. And the last thing that people who are very successful do is they take action every single day in the direction of their goals. I mean, I'm sure they have days off, but I remember working with, because I work with a lot of Olympic athletes, and one of them said, I train on Sunday. He said, no one else does. He said, on Christmas Day I train twice, just because no one else does. But if you take action every day in the direction of your goals, that really helps too. So I think I've covered these 9 issues.
Thank you so much for this morning. The other thing in terms of relating to our audience is the whole point about never enough. This comes up a lot, and you mentioned this as well, Marisa, where you know we're working with clients and they'll say, well, you know, I don't know if I should put myself up to that job. I don't have this, and that. And it's this feeling of, well, I'll never have enough experience, yeah. Right? So absolutely, actually, I am enough.
Since we're not doing questions, I could just show you something very quickly if you just give me 2 minutes. Just all close your eyes. All I want you to do is just close your eyes, nothing else. And just put your arms out in front of you like you're holding a pair of reins. That's all you're going to do. But please keep your eyes closed.
I wish I had a camera.
And I want you to imagine in your left hand, arms out straight like you're holding reins. Eyes closed, arms up at kind of chest level. And I want you to imagine in your left hand you're holding a huge red fire bucket that's filled with about 80 pounds of heavy, wet cement. So you can straight away feel the weight of that bucket pulling your left arm down. You can feel that in your wrist, in your elbow, and even in your neck as that 80 pounds gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And in your right arm, you're holding a huge helium-filled balloon, which is literally lighter than air. It's bigger than you. It's absolutely weightless, and it's taking your right arm up and up and up and up. So your right arm is becoming absolutely weightless, and it's pulling up, and your left arm is becoming increasingly weighed down. And you'll notice that one arm is weightless, and the other is weighed down, only because, again, of the pictures you have in your head and the words you're hearing. And so just stay like that, don't stop it, because now you have absolute proof that your brain believes whatever you tell it. It doesn't even have to be real. And just leave your arms where they are and just open your eyes. And now that you have this proof that your brain believes everything you tell it, you can never again say, oh, that's just all psychobabble. There's no bucket and there's no balloon, but your brain will believe anything you tell it, good or bad, right or wrong. So tell it great things. Tell it you're enough, and it will change your life.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was absolutely brilliant. Yeah.